the Irish maid, and the Borden murders. The testimony of the Borden maid, Bridget Sullivan.
Bridget Sullivan testified that she was in her third-floor room, resting from cleaning windows. Just before 11:10 a.m., Bridget heard Lizzie call out to her from downstairs.
"Maggie, come quick! Father's dead. Somebody came in and killed him."
Andrew Borden was slumped on a couch in the downstairs sitting room, struck 10 or 11 times with a hatchet-like weapon to the face. One of his eyeballs had been split cleanly in two, suggesting he had been asleep when attacked. Soon after, as neighbours and doctors tended to Lizzie Borden, Bridget Sullivan found Abby Borden in the upstairs guest bedroom, her skull crushed by 19 blows. Police found a hatchet in the basement. Though it was free of blood, it was missing most of its handle. Lizzie was arrested soon after, and a grand jury began to hear the evidence. She was indicted on December 2nd of 1892. She was found not guilty. The murders were never solved. Bridget moved to Montana, passing on at the age of 66 in 1948.
The testimony of Bridget Sullivan.
In the household, I was sometimes called Maggie by Miss Emma and Miss Lizzie. I am 26 years old, unmarried. I've been in this country 7 years last May. Was born in Ireland, came first to Newport, Rhode Island. After a year, there went to South Bethlehem, Pennsylvania. I canned to Fall River 4 years ago, went to work for Mrs. Reed, had been working for Mr. Borden 2 years and 9 months at the time of his death. There was no other domestic servant, but a man from the farm used to come and do chores. His name was Alfred. I don't know his other name. They used to keep a horse in the barn until about a year before Mr. Borden died. After the horse went, they didn't use the barn anymore. My work was washing, ironing, and cooking and sweeping. I did not have to care of any of the bed chambers except my own. My room was in the 3rd story, right over Mr. Borden's, and his was over the kitchen.
Who did the chamber work in Mr. Borden's room and Mrs. Borden's?
I don't know, themselves did it. I don't know which of them.
Who took care of the rooms belonging to the daughters?
Themselves took care, as far as I know. I remember Mr. Morse coming to the house sometimes and staying overnight. I saw him after dinner on the Wednesday before the deaths. Mrs. Borden got dinner for him. I washed the dishes. I did not go out that afternoon. I guess I was ironing. Monday was the regular washing day. I dried the clothes on Tuesday that week. Did the washing down cellar in the washroom. I locked the cellar door after I hung out the clothes. There was no change in that door down the time of the murders. So far as I know, it stayed bolted. There was no more or less traffic on 2nd Street. Street folks, carriages, and teams. I went up to my room Wednesday afternoon, say about 4:45. I left the screen door hooked. Mr. and Mrs. Borden were sick on Wednesday morning. I was well until Thursday, when I got up with a headache. When I went to the front door on Wednesday to let Dr. Brown in, I left the back door locked. I let myself in with a key. The back door had 2 spring locks and a bolt. I locked all of them when I came in and hooked the screen door too. I went to the ice chest, took a glass of milk, and went to bed. The milk was left at the door every morning at 5 or 5:30. I washed a can every day and left it on the doorstep at night. The milkman took that can and left a full one, so there was an exchange of cans every day. The next morning I felt a dull headache as I got up. I came down at 6:15, went down cellar for wood, started my fire, and went down again for coal. Then I unlocked the back door, took in the milk, and put out a pan for the iceman, and a pitcher with some water in it. When I went in again, I hooked the screen door. I worked in the kitchen and dining room, getting breakfast, and I didn't go into any other rooms. Mrs. Borden was the first one I see that morning. She gave me orders about breakfast. It was about 6:30. Mr. Borden came down in about 5 minutes. He went into the sitting room and put the key of his bedroom on the shelf. He kept it there. He then came out into the kitchen, put on a dressing coat, and went outdoors with a slop pail he had brought downstairs. The screen door was locked until he went out. I was in the kitchen. The windows of the kitchen look out into the backyard. Mr. Borden emptied the slop pail Then he unlocked the barn door and went into the barn. Then he went to the pear tree, picked up a basket of pears, and brought them into the house. He washed up in the kitchen and went in to breakfast. When I put the breakfast on the table, I saw Mr. Morse. For breakfast, there was some mutton, some broth, and Johnny cakes, coffee, and cookies. The broth was mutton broth. After they had their breakfast, I ate mine and commenced to clear things up. Then I see Mr. Borden and Mr. Morse going out by the back door. Mr. Borden let him out, came to the sink and cleaned his teeth at the sink and took a big bowl full of water and took it up to his room. First, he took the key off the shelf in the sitting room. 5 minutes later, Miss Lizzie came through the kitchen. I was washing the dishes, and I asked her what did she want for breakfast. She said she didn't know as she wanted any breakfast, but she guessed she would have something. She guessed she would have some coffee and cookies. She got some coffee, and she was preparing to sit down at the kitchen table. I went out in the backyard. I had a sick headache and I was sick to my stomach. I went out to vomit, and I stayed 10 or 15 minutes. When I came back, I hooked the screen door again. I didn't see Mr. Borden after he went up to his room. I finished my dishes and took them in the dining room. Mrs. Borden was there. She was dusting the door between the sitting room and dining room. She had no covering on her hair. She said she wanted the windows washed, inside and outside both. She said they are awful dirty. After that, I didn't see Mrs. Borden anymore until I found her dead upstairs. I didn't see Miss Lizzie anywhere about. I can't say exactly, but I think was about 9 o'clock. Then I cleaned off my stove, went in the dining room and sitting room, shut the windows I was going to wash, and went down cellar and got a pail to take some water. I didn't see anybody in the rooms. I got a brush in the kitchen closet, filled my pail, and took it outdoors. As I was outside, Lizzie Borden appeared in the back entry and says,
Maggie, are you going to wash the windows?
I says, yes. I says, you needn't lock the door. I will be out around here, but you can lock it if you want to. I can get the water in the barn. I went to the barn to get the handle for the brush. First, I washed the sitting room windows on the south side of the house, the Kelly side. This was away from the screen door. Before I started washing, Mrs. Kelly's girl appeared, and I was talking to her at the fence. Then I washed the parlour windows, the 2 front windows. Between times, I went to the barn and got some water. I washed the dining room windows and 1 parlour window on the side. I went to the barn for water twice while I was on the south side of the house. Went round by the rear and went 3 or 4 times more while I was working in the front or on the other side of the house. Then I went past the screen door to the barn. During all that time, I did not see anybody come to the house. Then I got a dipper from the kitchen and clean water from the barn, and commenced to wash the sitting room windows again by throwing water up on them. When I washed these windows, I did not see anyone in the sitting room, and I did not see anyone in the dining room when I washed those windows. I went round the house, rinsing the windows with dippers of water. Then I put the brush handle away in the barn and got the hand basin and went into the sitting room to wash those windows inside. I hooked the screen door when I came in. I began to wash the window next to the front door. Then I heard like a person at the door was trying to unlock the door, but could not. So I went to the front door and unlocked it. The spring lock was locked. I unbolted the door, and it was locked with a key. There were 3 locks. I said, "Pshaw," and Miss Lizzie laughed upstairs. Her father was out there on the doorstep. She was upstairs. She must have been in the entry or at the top of the stairs. I can't tell which. Mr. Borden and I didn't say a word as he came in. I went back to my window washing. He came into the sitting room and went into the dining room. He had a little parcel in his hand, same as a paper or a book. He sat in a chair at the head of the lounge. Miss Lizzie came downstairs and came through the front entry into the dining room, I suppose to her father. I heard her ask her father if he and any male, and they had some talk between them which I didn't understand. But I hear her tell her father that Mrs. Borden had a note and had gone out. The next thing I remember, Mr. Borden took a key off the mantelpiece and went up the back stairs. When he came downstairs again, I was finished in the sitting room, and I took my hand, basin, and stepladder into the dining room. I began to wash the dining room windows. Then, Miss Lizzie brought an ironing board from the kitchen, put it on the dining room table, and commenced to iron. She said,
Maggie, are you going out this afternoon?
I said I don't know, I might. And I might not, I don't feel very well.
If you go out, be sure and lock the door, for Mrs. Borden has gone out on a sick call, and I might go out too.
Says I, Miss Lizzie, who is sick?
I don't know. She had a note this morning. It must be in town.
I finished my 2 windows. She went on ironing. Then I went in the kitchen, washed out my clothes, and hung them behind the stove. Miss Lizzie came out there and said,
There is a cheap sale of dress goods at Sargent's this afternoon at 8 cents a yard today.
And I said, I am going to have one. Then I went upstairs to my room. I don't remember to have heard a sound of anyone about the house, except those I named. Then I laid down in the bed. I hear the City Hall bell ring, and I looked at my clock, and it was 11 o'clock. I wasn't drowsing or sleeping. In my judgment, I think I was there 3 or 4 minutes. I don't think I went to sleep at all. I heard no sound. I didn't hear the opening or closing of the screen door. I can hear that from my room if anyone is careless and slams the door. The next thing was that Miss Lizzie hollered,
Maggie, come down. Come down quick. Father's dead. Somebody came in and killed him.
This might be 10 or 15 minutes after the clock struck 11, as far as I can judge. I run downstairs. I hadn't taken off my shoes or any of my clothing.
What was the usual dress that Miss Lizzie Borden wore mornings? Will you describe it?
When I got downstairs, I saw Miss Lizzie standing with her back to the screen door. I went to go right in the sitting room, and she says,
Oh, Maggie, don't go in. I have got to have a doctor quick. I have got to have the doctor. I went over to Dr. Bowen's right away, and when I came back, I says, Miss Lizzie, where was you? I says, didn't I leave the screen door hooked? I was out in the backyard and heard a groan and came in and the screen door was wide open. Go and get Miss Russell. I can't be alone in the house.
I forgot a hat and shawl and went. I had not found Dr. Bowen when I went to his house, but I told Mrs. Bowen that Mr. Borden was dead. I went to the house, corner of Borden and 2nd Streets, learned that Miss Russell was not there, went to the cottage next to the baker shop on Borden Street, and told Miss Russell. Then I came back to the Borden house. Mr. Churchill was in the house, and Dr. Bowen. No one else, except Miss Lizzie. She was in the kitchen, and Mrs. Churchill and I went into the dining room, and Dr. Bowen came out of the sitting room and said,
He is murdered! He is murdered!
And I says, Oh, Lizzie, if I knew where Mrs. Whitehead was, I would go and see if Mrs. Borden was there and tell her that Mr. Borden was very sick.
Maggie, I'm almost positive I heard her coming in. Won't you go upstairs to see?
I says, I am not going upstairs alone. I'd been upstairs already after sheets for Dr. Bowen. He wanted a sheet, and I asked him to get the keys in the sitting room, and Mrs. Churchill and I went up to Mrs. Borden's room and she got 2 sheets, I guess. Mrs. Whitehead is Mrs. Borden's sister. She lives in Fall River. Mrs. Churchill said she would go upstairs with me. As I went upstairs, I saw the body under the bed. I ran right into the room and stood at the foot of the bed. The door of the room was open. I did not stop or make any examination. Mrs. Churchill did not go in the room. We came right down. Miss Lizzie was in the dining room, lying on the lounge. Miss Russell was there.
Up to what time when Miss Lizzie Borden told her father and told you in reference to the note? Had you heard anything about it from anyone?
No, sir, I never did.
Let me ask you if anyone to your knowledge came to that house on the morning of August 4th with a message or a note for Mrs. Borden?
No, sir, I never seen nobody.
Lizzie Borden was found innocent of the murders of her father and stepmother on June 20th, 1893. The verdict, delivered by a jury of 12 men after about an hour and a half of deliberation, was unanimous, resulting in her acquittal on all charges.
Please like and subscribe. I need carrots and mulberry leaves. And I like treats now and then like jackfruit and papaya.